Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Morning. It's Thursday, the 28th of June. I am boosting Amafaye. Let's get the 1 hour show heavily loaded. Let's get it started. This is breaking news, as you may have seen already on the channel. President Buhari has appointed a new group managing director for the State Oil Corporation, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC. Mele Kolo Kiari is the new group managing director. He's a geologist and a former group general manager, crude oil marketing division of NNPC, and also doubled since May 2018 as Nigeria's national representative to the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries in Vienna, that's OPEC. Released today in Abuja by the NNPC Group General Manager in charge of Public Affairs, Udu Ugamadu, says President Buhari also appointed, alongside Kiari, the new group managing director, 7 new chief operating officers. All of them will be working concurrently with the current office holders for a smooth transition until the 8th of July. This is one major strategic announcement by President Buhari in the economic sector since his re-election and a second-term inauguration. And this is all coming as everyone's asking Mr. President about his cabinet. But this is very big as it can get into a very critical sector of the Nigerian economy, the oil and gas industry. So the newly appointed Chief Operating Officers, Roland Ewubare, he will be in charge of South-South, Chief Operating Officer in charge of upstream business, Mustafa Yusuf Yakubu in charge of North Central, the Chief Operating Officer for refining and petrochemical business. Engineer Yusuf Usman in charge of the Northeast is the Chief Operating Officer in charge of gas and power. And Ms. Laurencia Ndupu will be in charge of the Southeast, the Chief Operating Officer in charge of ventures business of the NNPC. And coming into the office of the Chief Financial Officer for the NNPC is Umar Issa Ajia Northwest. And that's coming number 5. And number 6 is for the gentleman by the name Engineer Adeyemi Adetunji, who will be the Chief Operating Officer for downstream Southwest, and Mr. Farouk Garba Said from the Northwest, a Chief Operating Officer in charge of corporate services. This is one major announcement from President Buhari, putting everything together for his second term in office. What else is making news this morning? The International Monetary Fund Managing Director, Christine Lagarde, has sent a congratulatory letter to the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, saying the reappointment of Emefiele by Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari comes at a key moment when Nigeria has the opportunity to take important steps to strengthen the economy and improve living standards for all the citizens. The letter, according to Ms. Lagarde, includes a comment that the IMF, Ms. Lagarde says the IMF is looking forward to continuing close collaboration with Godwin Emefiele and the central bank colleagues, as well as supporting the financial regulator in dealing with the key challenges of ensuring macroeconomic stability and safeguarding the development of a sound financial sector for Nigeria. Meantime, listed cement maker Lafarge Africa informed the market on Thursday of redemption of 26.4 billion naira, 14.25% 3-year fixed rate Series 1 bond. The bond, which is now being redeemed, was part of the 100 billion naira issuance program floated in June 2016 by the cement maker, 60 billion naira of which was issued in Series 1 and 2. Lafarge says its outstanding balance of 33.6 billion under the 100 billion naira program represents Series 2 of the 100 billion at a fixed coupon of 14.75%, a 5-year tenor which matures and will be due for redemption in June 2021. Yesterday, the cement maker reported strong profitability improvement in first quarter 2019, showing operating profit up 35%, a major reduction in net debt because Lafarge Africa says it has sold off its South African operations, and the divestment brought about 114 billion naira onto the balance sheet. That's roughly $317 million US. And still talking divestment, billionaire businessman Femi Otedola has concluded his final divestment of majority 75% direct and indirect equity holding in the listed power energy company Forte Oil PLC. The sale of shares to new investors cleared by both the SEC and the Nigerian Stock Exchange sealed Otedola's final departure from the oil trading empire he bought as African Petroleum PLC some 20 years ago and transformed into Forte Oil PLC. Forte Oil shares climbed a maximum 10% on Thursday to 34.65 on a massive 973.25 million ordinary shares sold on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So the big question, where does Femi Otedola goes from here? The billionaire businessman, according to competent sources, is now heading straight into Nigeria's power sector. If you remember, Forte Oil Consortium bought the Geregu power plant, one of the two power plants there in Kogi State during the 2013 November privatization. That power plant, 414 megawatts, was bought under that arrangement. And of course, the Forte Oil-led consortium has since been retooling that package. About 3 years ago, I stepped into that facility to take a look at what has been done between Forte Oil and Siemens. That is where sources say Femi Otedola will be investing nearly $1 billion of his divestment from Forte Oil into electricity business. And I had this very short conversation with the CEO and managing director of the Geregu power plant, and he had this to say. That's Adeyemi Ademola. Let's take a listen to him.
We took over the power plant in November 2013 after the privatization, and we've been able to keep at an average of 270 megawatts up to this time when we are now doing the major overhaul. When this plant was privatized, the preferred bidder was Amperion Distribution Company, in which Forte Oil is the major shareholder. And when they took over on 1st November 2013, a plant audit was done.
Okay.
In the plant audit, we realized that for us to be able to go to continue in power generation and have power to supply to the Nigerian economy, we had to do certain maintenances. This arises from the fact that the former owners, who are supposed to have done the hot gas part inspection in 2011-2012, this was not done, and it was a major milestone when you are talking about maintenance of a power plant. What this has created is that the safety and the continuous generation of power from the power plant was under threat. So the new owners decided that they will have to bring forward the planned major overhaul. It was planned to be done in 2017, but then because of the situation we find ourselves, it had to be brought forward, and that is what we are doing right now.
Okay, so when billionaire businessman moves in billions and billions of shares and money, then you need to follow that. But this divestment is coming at a very important time for the markets and investors. So what's the market outlook on Otedola's final exit from Forte Oil and where he goes next with the power sector, still within the energy sector space, as it were? Let's talk to Johnson Chukwu, who is the CEO at Carry Asset Management. He's live to us today via Skype from Abuja, the country's political capital, from his office there. Thank you so much, Johnson Chukwu. Give us your thoughts on this final divestment, the road that Femi Otedola had traveled from the days of African Petroleum into Forte Oil PLC. Now he's moving into the emerging electricity sector.
I think what Femi Otedola did is to harmonize his business costs, which he said in his Instagram handle, that he's moving away from the upstream and downstream oil and gas sector to focus on the power sector, his investment in Geregu power generation plant. And I think if you look at what's happening in the downstream sector, the oil and gas sector, that sector has been disrupted by the policies on subsidy of petroleum products. So you realize that most operators in that sector are actually strong. So I think what he did was a very strategic move to move to a sector that presents itself as a very strong growth sector. by going to focusing more on his investment in the power generation sector. Interestingly, the power generation sector has a unique position in the electricity value chain because, one, they don't deal with the end users or end consumers. So they are bulk breakers in the sense that they generate power and sell to the distribution company. So they don't deal with issue of losses at the distribution center or collection losses. And I think what he has done is a very strategic move.
Okay, Johnson, the market is interested when big moves like this happen. So what's your outlook on this deal and how investors, yesterday the stock gained a maximum 10%, almost 1 billion shares were traded. You think this is the market's initial reaction into this stock? This was a stock that had clocked up to 40 naira and above if you look at the last 1 year, 2 years. So what do you see here for Forte Oil moving forward as still remaining in the downstream oil and gas business?
I know what the investors did yesterday or the past 1 or 2 weeks is that they are trying to bid up the price to approximate the price at which Femi Otedola sold to Prudent. If you look at what information available in the public space, indicated that the transaction was done at 66 naira to a share, per unit of share, 50 kobo share. And then the stock price was trading about 27 naira or thereabouts. The price has corrected about 34 naira. So what investors are doing is they are actually building up the price, hoping that it will approximate the price at which Femi sold to the Prudent Group. But that may not be sustained because after buying 35% equity of Forte Oil, Prudent may not have any compelling need to buy more from the floor of the market. So what will now drive the stock price will be to what extent that Prudent manages the operation of the business and generate profit. But the excitement associated with the divestment and the fact that the strategic investor sold at 66 naira, about more than 90% share premium to the market price, will after a few days evaporate because I do not see Prudent buying more from the floor because within 5% equity they have a significant majority.
Okay, Femi Otedola is a big man, as it were, but again, with his exit, would you expecting some changes on the board, perhaps in the management of Forte Oil PLC, don't you? Would that be a major focus for investors?
Yes. Yes, you are going to have the Prudent Group will now appoint the chairman and obviously appoint the new MD, and basically they will populate the executive and the non-executive board of Forte Oil, with the exception of independent director and minority interest director. Today, the 75% equity stake means they will conclude the board. That's why I made reference to the fact that the performance of the stock price going forward will be dependent on how well the Prudent Group manages the operations of Forte Oil. But certainly, with new ownership, we should expect changes in the board, absolute complete changes in the board.
Johnson Chukwu, CEO of Carrier Asset Management, thank you very much for your thoughts today.